there wasn't an art show in 2003?
No.
When was the first one?
2004.
2004?
So this year's the 20th year. And then CASP came on board. Our first art trail was September 2010. So I've now worked 150 something of them.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, and then there was a thriving art scene here then, thriving art and music. Like I said, the Wheeler Brothers at Space 1110 and their little studio down there, which is now just a parking lot for the Pioneer Hotel. But like that was a place where poets and artists and, you know, general people that wanted to drink beer and talk like would show up. And
Sarah Waters.
oh, that's right.
She had space in the Depot District.
Super good
studio space, so she would do shows.
Played music.
I would say like before Luca came on board, there was art stuff happening. There was a Lubbock Fine Arts Center, but Luca really became the catalyst for the public really being able to come.
Okay.
You know, it's one thing to have a house show and your buddies show up.
Sure.
It's another thing for like people to really show up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think I was told like the first one in 2004, like 7 people were there.
Holy
you know,
shit. 7 people.
Luca had 2 employees.
Wow.
You know, but no one had done it.
Yeah.
And then it's just grown to now the thousands of people that we can't even count them because
Yeah.
there's so many.
Well, now Nola Richards had a little gallery down there too around the time that Sarah was doing her thing. Yeah.
Then Tornado would have been operating, maybe. I don't know.
No, they were 20.
They were later on. They're still before me, but yeah.
Well, I'm excited to start getting into this
yeah.
conversation.
Let me start.
Oh, they're already rolling.
They're rolling already?
Yeah,
Okay,
they've been
perfect.
rolling. That's why.
They've been rolling.
Swag.
All right, so this is episode 11 of the Hector Way podcast. I'm your host, Cade Conway.
DeAndre Rios.
Jon Whitfill.
What you do?
What do you do?
Just
He's a man of many hats.
Dive into the surface of it.
Well, currently I'm the assistant brewer and head cellarman at Good Line Beer Company. I'm an independent artist and make my own work. And then I help out with, you know, other things around town, but that's kind of my current deal.
Chad Plunket. I'm the director of the Charles Adams Studio Project, and I make things. So sometimes people call it art. Sometimes I just throw it in the trash. And then I teach a class in the College of Architecture at Tech, a design build class. So the students design the thing and literally build it. So those are my, I guess, 3 biggest hats that I wear. That's.
I'm Zach Morris, owner of Charles Adams Gallery, also an artist, an educator. I teach for Lone Star Colleges out of Houston. Yeah.
I feel like getting to meet you guys is really, it's an honor because y'all are, I don't know. It's one of those things where like,
Old folks.
no, yeah, not many people know, not many people know like who really like is doing the shit.
I don't want to speak for Chad too much, but I think it was the framer. You were the framer. Everyone here's been a framer for Charles Adams for at least a little moment. Like I just kind of helped and then stole as many free frames as I could steal. Y'all actually got paid and did it.
So initially, how did you guys get involved with the operation that is what it is today?
Framing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That was kind of the deal. Like,
Yeah.
Chad was the framer for Charles, and then I was in the gallery, and that was before CASP was CASP.
2009, I was supposed to be writing a thesis, and I couldn't do it. And so Peter Chizinski was the framer, and I was working like landscape jobs, cutting grass, trimming trees. And then I'd go home, and I was supposed to write this thesis, and I couldn't. I was exhausted. So Peter moved, and I was like, Pete, could I have your job at the gallery? He said yes, and so I got that job. Well, it's climate controlled, and it's picture frames. And so I would think about my thesis, I'd write stuff, and so I was Charles's framer for like 3 years, and it was at that time that we got the money from Margaret Talkington, which was the seed money to start CASP. And so I didn't have any official title with CASP at the time. I was just a little birdie on Charles's shoulder. And so I would talk about, well, if I had this money, like this is what I would try to do, or this is what artists need. And then that's in many ways what CASP has become. And then responding later to like learning things like, well, what does an artist need? We've done this, like what's next? And so now all of that money's spent. So any money we make now is we're trying to fundraise for it. But that was my initial thing.
Yeah, and what eventually I think brought me here, honestly, was CASP. I mean, it was the opportunities of, being a medals fellow that actually got me in the door. I wasn't a framer for Charles until years after I had already, been teaching and working with Chad for, 4 or 5 years at that point. And then, at the same time, I was piecing things together as well, like you're doing landscaping jobs. I'm building fences and, working with another masonry company and piecing together any kind of income that I could.
Yeah, kind of still living the day to day and kind of wanting to like inspire to live that dream as an artist or live that dream as just like a full-time artist. Cause
I like the common theme of how everybody was doing multiple things. Like it wasn't just like, yeah, I just did this and this is what I was doing. It's like, no, I used to
Straight hustle.
It's the hustle, man.
It's the hustle.
It's the
Well,
hustle.
it's
all about the hustle.
I was a teacher. I was teaching physics at Estacada High School during the time, and Chad was a neighbor, and he came over one day and he was like, "Hey, I'm pretty sure that you know how to do some metal stuff," because he knew that I was a student. We both had the same professors and doing grad school at Tech and whatnot, and so we made that piece together. And then yeah, like I said, I would just hang out at the gallery trying to get my foot in the door, and then trying to make work when I wasn't working. And then the trail, the CASP complement of the art trail started over there in 5 and J, and it was weirdly a frame shop while this was getting worked on. And yeah, we used to have to give out beer so people would come. And I remember when we got to like 2 kegs, or 2, I guess at one point it was like, are we going to buy 3 kegs? We made a kegerator.
let's give somebody to sponsor the other keg.
Yeah. Well, we just wanted people to come by, and
And that's the thing people don't remember is Art Trail used to be Luca and then other venues. And when we opened across at 5 and J, people wouldn't cross the street.
Damn.
And we were just sitting there like twiddling our thumbs. It was like, all right, well, let's throw out a keg. And so then we gave out free beer. And at the end of the night, we'd float it. And then all of a sudden we wouldn't have any beer to float at the end of the night. So we're like, okay, 2 kegs. And then that was fine for a while. And then all of a sudden, once that, like 2 kegs would get drained, we were just like, okay, people have to pay for their beer.
Yeah.
If they come over here and they're showing up, like,
it worked.
Oh, for sure.
we built a kegerator on wheels because as different cast stuff would come online, we would roll it to different parts of our area, so people would at least have to seek it out.
Keg on wheels.
Hey,
Yeah, it's like this
build a
big
garden and the butterflies are going to come.
We still have the kegerator.
It's an all-terrain, like
Anybody
big
wants to buy it.
Oh my gosh,
metal.
got
Yeah, right.
off-wheel drive on it or off-road.
Yeah.
Impressive.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely need to bring that back, I would say, for like the 50th.
You can roll it on gravel. You can
Yeah, we'd roll it across the block. Yeah.
Lesson number 1.
Pouring beer while you're rolling the
Yeah. Just kind
But
of
it's a smooth. It's a smooth. You wouldn't even notice
It's
it.
pretty smooth ride.
It's got suspension on it.
Yeah, I mean, there's good,
That's sick.
yeah,
Part of the history.
for sure. Yeah.
So you kind of made a mention that you're trying to get your foot in the door at one point.
Yeah.
As an artist that's trying to get their foot in the door with the gallery, do you have any advice that you'd share?
Oh gosh, I can't put that out there. No, I would say that I took an unconventional path, but I mean, what I did was there was one gallery in town. Like, what are you gonna do? And my good friend worked at that gallery, so I already kind of had a little bit of I felt comfortable, I guess is what I'm saying, going into the gallery, looking at the stuff, saying things like, man, it would be cool if I had a piece in here, things like that. And then you just got to knock on doors, man. You got to cold call. You got to build a resume. Like at that time, I was looking at teaching art in the college, and in order to do that, I was throwing my work all across the country as far as I could get away. Like I still have a couple of decent lines on a resume of a show in France and New York and stuff like that. We did something in China at one point that was super cool, but you still just need to make. It boils down to when you got extra time or you're feeling it, then you're making something. And then the more that you get out there that you made, then the people can respond to that. Yeah. But I mean, honestly, Zach might have better answers because he's got people probably coming in here trying to knock on his.
I get hit up every day.
Yeah, that's still with a lot of aspiring artists.
Yeah, and you know, I'm even about to add a submissions page on the website just to streamline that conversation because, you know, being one of the only galleries in Lubbock that you know rotates exhibits like this or even represents somewhat of a local or regional scene. You know, everybody in town is beating down the door, which, you know, is great.
Makes
That's
sense.
a very
makes
good
sense.
problem to have.
You're
You
doing
know,
something
it's
right,
yeah, you know, and so you know, I'm like, I try to stay booked out, like for my featured exhibits, I stay booked out a good year ahead. You know, so I've got all of those artists lined up for the next year. You know, but then as far as everybody around the room, you know, everybody in here, except for I'd say 99% of everybody in here is trying. They've got their, you know, they've got an exhibit record. Mm-hmm. You know, I can get online. I can pull up any one of these artists' webpage because they have a webpage. You know,
Official,
that's what you need. A webpage is one.
Because they've made enough work over the years to have
important.
a nice portfolio. They've got an exhibition record, and I can say, cool, they showed there. That's awesome. Like, you know, and that's you know, I think as you mature in the arts, you know, and you start getting into shows, you apply your work. Yeah, I mean, that's what I look for
in the selection process.
Yeah, you know, is experience. Exactly. You know, I don't. It's, you know, it's it's hard enough to get artists in the door without a hassle every month. And so, you know, working with artists that have some experience, it shows. I'd hope that we're trying to pursue something outside of Lubbock and, you know, a greater art scene, and maybe that ties into more of why we're making art.
Most definitely.
Like acting local, thinking global kind of mindset.
Sure. Because I'm not, you know, I'm also not from Lubbock, you know, so
Where are you from?
So I grew up in Salina, Texas, up north of Dallas, you know, and I didn't move out here until 2015, where I got my master's at Tech in painting.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
In painting. That is awesome. That's such a cool master's. It's
all right.
Not people like, you know, you think of people getting their masters in.
See, the way I
a
look
more
at it,
traditional-
yeah. See, the way I look at it as like just an artist that kind of taught myself just looking at cool shit and wanting to make stuff. I'm like, what's the difference between educational, technical art and an
What would
artist
you
that
say,
kind of just
with
fucking
kind of
does
living
it?
both of best worlds.
It's the, oh God, that's a hard, you know, I put trust in institutions because, you know, they do offer a community where you can get, you know, feedback, you can learn, you can present a thesis and, you know, get reflection from that. And, you know, the academic setting it's there, you know, it's going to give you a leg up. You're going to talk to people that are already doing the art deal. I mean, you know, professors and everybody are held to a rigorous standard of having exhibits, writing, publishing. And every college is different. So, you know, like where I got my undergrad was different from where I got my grad. And there, you know, different accreditations, different goals and different missions for those students. And so all of that stuff is very important, you know, as an artist, if you're wanting to pursue education, to make sure you research where you're going and who you're going to be studying under, and you know, so all of that's very, very important. But not necessarily.
Based art is a different animal than what's going on here too. I mean, like this is something that you want someone to purchase this work,
Right?
And ultimately, like that's a
You're gonna make
goal.
money off your art.
Yeah.
Like, you'll
I
be
mean,
able to make a living off of it.
Right. And so like, I mean, I remember when I was in school, like I was told like, you know, don't show your work too much. Like don't put it in galleries because you don't know where your work's going to go. And then if you get some reputation for some type of art that you're making and then you want to go some other way, well, then you might get, you know, stuck making something you don't like to make, or you're going to become less prolific because of that. Which I don't really even know if that was the best advice. You know, like it's once again still just like I think you just make and you put your stuff out there.
Yeah.
You will evolve.
Yeah.
Eventually, and your
Just
work
trial
will
and error.
evolve.
You don't have to have an art degree to make art.
Right.
For sure.
And your art degree may not take you like where you might think you wanted to take you. But I'll say my art degree, no one's ever said, oh, you have an art degree? And like, it's never held me back.
Yeah.
And there are things I apply for where it is good that they see that I have the academic rigor of having a Master of Fine Arts in sculpture. So I don't discourage people from going to school or grad school for the arts. People just need sort of the expectation of kind of what it is and what it does. It made me read stuff I would never read on my own.
I'm sure you're glad that you read
And
this.
then there was a professor in the room when I was confused that I was just like, I don't know what they're talking about. And then we talked about it. And so I learned stuff that, I don't know, maybe if you're Goodwill Hunting, like you can figure out all that on your own and, you know, become a rocket scientist. But like, I'm not the artist I am today without the schooling that I went through. And that's not to say that I couldn't be a different type of artist if I had pursued other things. I'd like to get back real quick to, I mean, you're a for-profit gallery trying to make sales. CASP is a nonprofit. And so we have a board, we have rules we have to follow. So for any of our studios, the LiveWorks or the Works, or an exhibition in 5 and J, we have an open application process. So you can follow us on Instagram.
Go ahead and
follow
plug
us on
that,
Facebook. CASP_LBK. Just type in Charles Adams Studio Project. And whenever there's calls for art or shows or live spaces, we post it there and then you apply online. And we try to make that application as easy as possible. And I do want to agree with the guys. We have an exhibitions committee. There's 5 of us on it. We review everything. And the first thing we do is we don't even look at people's name. The first thing we do is we look at the work and we go through the PowerPoint slide, however they've presented their pictures. And we go, do we like the work? And it's a pretty diverse body of people that are looking at it. And then we have a yes pile, a no pile, and a maybe pile. And then we go through the yes pile again. And then that's when we actually learn someone's name.
Nice.
And then we maybe look at the resume, or we go, you know, or the maybe pile. We're like, I like the work, but I don't really get it. Well, that's when we read the artist statement.
Yeah.
But we don't read the artist statement first.
Sure.
Like, we want to see the work. It's visual arts.
Yeah.
Now we are open to poets and musicians and stuff. So sometimes we are reading a poem or listening to music. But, and so I don't know. I still think my advice for young artists is to make work. It's just to grind. Like, don't come with me with a sketchbook and say, I love horses. And I go, oh, show me your drawings. And you got one drawing of a horse.
Yeah.
I need to see a full sketchbook of horses, like, or whatever it is. Now, First Fridays and CASP in general, with something like the fashion show we're about to take on, like when I met you, our natural knee-jerk response at CASP is just to say yes. And so if someone comes up to and says, hey, I have this idea, we just want to go, yeah. Like, let's do it. How can we do it?
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean I have staff to help you. It doesn't mean I have money to help you.
Exactly.
But I have space. And so we always say CASP without our artists are just empty rooms. So help us fill these rooms. If everything that happened at CASP was just me, I mean, it would be dead and boring years ago.
So true.
It's the fact that, like, people come and they want stuff to happen and they
It's
go,
new,
can I do
exciting.
this? I don't have the connections in the fashion world that you do. I don't have the connections that John has, that Zach has. Like, so it does take people raising their hand. And, and it's our goal to be supportive of that. And if it doesn't work, like if this fashion show is a disaster, we won't do it again.
Exactly.
And that's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
But we try.
For sure,
so
for sure.
That's I don't know.
This is our third show, so hopefully
We kind of
we found the sweet spot in it. You know, we kind of like learned the ins and outs, especially from the first one that we threw at the Ice House. That one was, it was a lot.
as chaotic as it was very orchestrated. It was like controlled chaos. It was pretty sick.
And the fact that they've never per se had a fashion show like ever to be like, I guess, walk the first Friday. So it's
Right.
kind of like I don't know. I took it as like, damn, we're fucking cool. Like we're doing something that no one's done before, and that's our
good.
you know that's
That's
our
a good
whole thing.
place
I
to
feel
be.
like what we're trying to do as like young creators is kind of do things that have yet to be done, and
Or even like put our own spin on it. Like it
Yeah.
can be something that's been done before, but instead we're gonna
a little
do a little-
twang.
Yeah,
to
do a
it.
little different.
Well, that's my point. I think with CAS having an open application,
And that's
Yeah.
awesome, man.
we look at the work. Like
For sure.
I'm not looking at your age. I'm not looking at all this other stuff. Like if the work is there, the work is there. Like
Speaks
It's like
for
it's an
itself.
unbiased approach in a lot of ways because you're judging the art for the art, not for the artist or who they are, who they might have worked with in the past.
Where
It's
they
like,
come from.
No, I'm looking at the art that you submitted. Is it moving into the yes pile, the no pile, or the maybe?
Does it resonate? Does it like? Is it with the times? Is it and like? It's just I can see where that is a very tedious project. As for the live-in studios, how was that like? How was that orchestrated, and how like when did y'all bring that into fruition?
those came online in 2011 or no 2010, and it's a 1,600 square foot building. The back 500 square feet is live, kitchen, laundry room storage, and then the front 1,100 square feet, when you get it, is just a big empty room. And so I don't know how many artists we've had now in the last, 14 years that have passed through and lived in there. We want some sense of diversity to it. So like the sad thing about it is we only have 4 of them. So I mean, we just because of that number, we reject more qualified people than we even have the ability to accept. And so, but I do tell people like, apply, get rejected, fine. Next
again,
year,
yeah.
apply again, and next year apply again. Like it might be no now, but it may not be no forever. And it could be that there's 3 painters in there, and you're a painter, and we're kind of like, oh, we really need a sculptor in there. Like
Yeah.
it could be a reason that like your work was a yes, but it wasn't kind of the right fit at the time. Those are on a 1-year lease with the option to renew for a year, but it does have to get once again approved. So those studios, you sort of max out at 2, and then we sort of force retire you just to give other people the opportunity. And then the work studios behind 5 and J, those are a 1-year lease, but if you're happy and we're happy, we just keep them going. So some of those studios we've had a while, but I mean, we can talk about more of this later. Part of my job is to raise money to build more studios.
Let's talk about that right now.
We've got money in the bank. I won't say how much.
I know how much.
We have some money in the bank, and we're working.
Not enough.
We're working with an architect right now to basically design studios that are live work.
Okay.
They're maybe not as nice as those, but they're nicer than the work studios. So it's kind of a hybrid in between.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to get 6 more units of those, and I think we'll break ground within the next year.
That's awesome.
We got Blue
exciting.
Party coming up on May
18th.
18th. And that's the major fundraiser for CASP. And he brings in artists that have association with CASP and then just Lubbock artists to donate work. That then work is then sold at this party. And then, of course, it's a ticketed event. You have a nice dinner.
Get your tickets.
It's cool. Yeah. May 18th. Put it on the calendar for
It's
sure.
on our website.
I have some work to donate. I actually have some. Alex. She gave me a little space at the print shop, and I put some of my rugs for the first time. And
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
It's one of those things that like I wrote that goal down back in like 2021, and I was like, I want to put my rugs in the art gallery, and the fact that like to see that and that whole day was just kind of like surreal for me. It was,
So you
it was
should
aw-
apply for a show in 5 and J and just do rugs.
That would be awesome.
That'd be crazy.
That'd be 2025, right? I'm booked for 2024. Applications will come out July. Committee will meet, and then we will book 2025. So,
Yeah,
yes,
that's
fill 'em out.
something.
That's another
Put that on
thing
the
that
calendar.
the young artists should do is have a deadline.
Yeah.
You have I mean, Chad's got a show coming up in a year or 2, and like every time that he's messing around, he's whittling a little thing for this show or whatever. That's always in the back of your head.
Yeah.
Am I making enough work? Can I edit things out? Oh shit, I only got like 18 months left. Oh crap, I got to have something done by, this time. It's a really good way to like push yourself to do something. that you might not be doing. You know, it's like one of those deals. It's like, I'm tired, but like I got to get to the fucking studio.
That's the grind. That's the grind that like.
The commitment.
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't be doing it if you didn't like it already. I mean, you know, like I can't not make. I get weird.
Same.
You know, but don't.
It's like a wolf. Like, it's like you just fucking.
So there's phases.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah,
Sure. Yeah. There's levels to this shit.
At the same time, like I require myself to have my own deadlines as well. And then you're pushing yourself a little bit harder than you might normally be pushing yourself, but like doing the thing that you want to do, like you're only going to feel better at the end of that. It's just like marking stuff off of a to-do list. It's like every time you do it, that little bit of serotonin flows in. It's like, all right, that feels good. That feels good.
Yeah. Do you guys kind of like organize when y'all are dealing with like the business aspects of everything? Do y'all kind of do that? Like y'all got the list going on, like y'all pretty organized people, or is it like, hey, I'm going with the wind?
There are people that literally have degrees in arts administration. So there are textbooks on art admin. I never took any of those classes. I kind of fell accidentally into arts admin, but I really think it's just because I owned a calendar. And a lot of people don't own a calendar or can't read a calendar, don't use a calendar. And so you're kind of just like, there's deadlines in my life that I put on me. There's deadlines that are put upon me.
Exactly, yeah.
And so, the ability to deal with both. I also tell young artists in Lubbock in particular, come to Charles Adams Gallery, go to Broadway Contemporary, go to Rock Paper Shears, go to some of these other venues and see what it's like, and see if your work even makes sense there. If I was trying to, if I moved to Dallas and all of a sudden I just start cold calling all these galleries in Dallas, I mean, they don't know who I am.
Yeah.
Having a business card in your pocket, having a QR code on your phone, having a website, an Instagram that's like that's up and going, and then talking to other artists, and then following them, and then following you. Like this is how this works. It's energy begets energy.
I would even say like the Underwood Center, Luca across the road. They have a curator. Her name's Taylor. She's great. So she's seeking out artists, but then. She also knows, like, I can't know everybody to fill all of these spaces.
For sure.
And so they have an open application. And I forget their dates on that. Apply for that. They have 4 galleries that rotate every 2 months. So, I mean, they're really trying to fill a lot of shows. And it's about the work. Is the work there? I will say, I think this last time they had like 180 applicants.
Oh, shit.
So
that's cool.
They're rejecting a lot of people they would love to show. But still, is the work there? Does it read? What is the work? And I don't know. Apply.
Yeah.
So, to the digital space, how do you see like the relationship between like the digital platform and like a traditional art gallery? Like, where do you see that going in the future? Like,
I'm currently working on web development right now. I've as a business owner, I'm looking for different revenue streams. I'm looking on how to diversify these little projects into money coming in. One of those was the store online on the website, which again is almost, I've bitten off more than I can chew. You see how much artwork's in here. And, like right now, I think we have like 330 products listed. So original works listed, but that's, again, there's so much involved in all of that that it really hasn't turned in so it's been online for a year now, and I've had two sales online. So, and I've had calls from it though, so people will call in and say, hey, I see this on your website,
Do you do any advertising? Like, how is the marketing side of that?
Sure, I did do. I got us, an advertising spot into Art Week Miami last December, which again, I don't know if anything really came out of that other than somebody in Miami saw Charles Adams Gallery. follows and social media and stuff like that didn't really didn't really happen. Charles would sometimes feature an artist up front here in the gallery, but for the most part, it just stayed pretty stagnant, and unless the artist was willing to come in and change out the work from time to time, then it just kind of stayed as it was. And so, revitalizing that and actually changing over every month and featuring somebody every month has really changed the dynamic of this place.
So that's Saturday shows, man. That's smart. That's been cool.
Yeah.
Just nowadays, people's attention span is just too 5 seconds and you lost them. If it hasn't grabbed your attention within the 5 to 10 second span, it's kind of
Sometimes take them quicker than
exactly. And then think about how much work an artist puts into a piece. It's fuck, that shit took me 100 hours just for someone to look at it for 10 to 15 seconds and be like, oh, this could have been a different color.
Yeah, I think as an artist, the longer you're in it, I think the less your feelings get hurt
Most
about all
definitely.
this kind of stuff.
For sure.
I think it was BC one time. It was just you care too much. Y'all just care too much.
Just you bring up an interesting dynamic that is kind of a unique thing about what we have going on here. If you've ever been in a museum in New York or a real big amazing work, people are traversing the space because of the work, and so they're bouncing across this space looking at things, and every once in a while it's kind of oh, then you look at the next thing, and then but it looks like an intersection and a major thoroughfare in Peru or something. There's no lights and people are just doing, but if you come to an art trail in Lubbock and you've seen it, especially in Luca, it's different here because the space is different, but there's this weird conveyor belt of people that are literally just only being able to give 30 seconds, 20 seconds or less to a piece because there's so many people at the same time. And then there's this wonderful West Texas just being nice, just
hospitality.
And so you don't want to stand there and just stare at this piece that's struck you because you're backing up the line. And then there's this weird moment that if you do that, then there's 10 feet of gapped space in front of you, and you've stopped the conveyor belt of art looking, and then you have this weird feeling of you got to move on, buddy. What are you doing? Try going there on First Friday when it's full and bounce from piece to piece. You'll never see anything because
that's a crazy metaphorical.
It's if you're shaking it for too long, you're playing with it type shit.
You're shaking twice.
Yeah, come on, man.
I was really trying to look at this thing,
yeah,
but I think it's probably incredibly geographically isolated to what we have here, which is somehow thousands of people are coming out on this trail.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's
Everything
just
goes through
absolutely nuts. The conga line forms, and people are back to back. Another thing about that as well is at 9 o'clock, I'm trying to get people out of my door, and I think
seems counterintuitive.
Get it, and even as an artist, I'm telling people you can't look at art anymore for the evening, But at the same, so if I've ever kicked you out, I'm so sorry, not really, because I really want to just go home because I'm open 6 days a week, and I'm here, 6 days a week, and I think a lot of people don't also realize that you can come here.
No, literally, that's the main thing.
You can come here the next day after a First Friday.
Yeah, they don't know that. They think it's just open one day out of the month.
I know.
Sucks.
So it's funny in that regard. You hear that a lot, and I always have that in the back of my mind as people are exiting the building at 9 p.m. I'm like, come back tomorrow. Come see me tomorrow. Because we're open, and Luca's open, and and there's usually somebody around CASP if there's something to see.
Saturdays we're open.
Yeah.
I know the digital stuff. I've never had a website for my work. My Instagram is mostly just my kids. John has a website. Your Instagram has a lot more work on it than mine. So I've also been fortunate that I've not had to make a living solely with art sales. Yeah. And so I've done different things because to make a living solely on art sales is really
That's tough, man.
It's hard. And if I was trying to make a living solely on art sales, I would definitely have a bigger web presence.
For sure.
By social, I'd have a Chad Plunket social media for my parents to see their grandkids, and then I'd have the art one. So there's different ways people navigate that stuff. I did a 2-person show with Hannah. She's on Saatchi Art, and that's an online. You upload your work. You do have to be accepted. They do have a process, and then they sell your stuff. And they'll sell originals, or they will turn your work into prints of your stuff. Now they take percentage, and there's stuff you have to research it and see if it's the right thing for you. But she sold work to Australia. She did a painting of me when I was a little boy at my 4-year-old birthday party. So like she, took a photo, did this painting. The original I have. The print of it has been sold to like internationally.
That is sick.
There's people across the world that have a painting of me at my 4-year-old birthday party. And like, that's crazy. It's
kind of weird
to me.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there like blowing out my candles with like
He's
a
shirt
crown
cocking
on.
it. He doesn't have any pants on. It's great.
There's different ways to do it. I talked to an artist. He's a printmaker, and sometimes prints it's a hand pulled print, but they're not as valued as high financially.
Most definitely.
And so he was just like, no, I price it for this. And so his prices are kind of high. And he's just like, yeah, but this other person I know, she prices everything really low. So she's working on volume.
Yeah.
And he's just like, no, I want it to go for this. This is what I want it to be. And then if it doesn't sell, he's like, great, I still own it.
Yeah.
And when it does sell, cool. Like in one sale, I made what took her 20 sales to make. Now, each model is fine.
Yeah.
If you make a piece and you have all of these versions of it and it doesn't sell and you're still selling it for cheap, well, now you have all this stuff to store. So pros and cons to however you take on the thing.
Art World is a beast within itself, man.
It's crazy how much business oriented it is. Like you would think it's just like art, like create, but it's like no, it's a business, just like anything else. Like
And that's where sometimes academia completely fails artists, because and same thing is true probably just like in your public school setting. Like, there's this joke I saw sometime, and I remember exactly what the punchline of it was. It basically was just like, it was really great. I took that how to file your taxes class, because that was really helpful. But that geometry class or whatever, it's just kind of like you're learning all these things, but you still have to do certain stuff. And if you want to have some business savvy, learning it on the fly can sometimes really suck. Because you're selling something that might be worth more for less, or you've overpriced something, and now you're fucked. Because what are you going to do? Next month, have a slash the price sale? Then you just look like a chode.
I would encourage every artist to have their own business going. You have a social security number. You should be writing off every one of your art expenses. If you're showing your art and you're trying to sell your art, you should be writing off every expense that you do for that. That's a business. Yeah. And that's business 101. I mean, and so, I encourage you two both should be running your own businesses.
And the thing is, we do, and it's just more of along the lines we're not
just an individual.
We're not literate in that
Right.
that side of the spectrum, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what we're saying. It's so important. I mean, it's if I grew up with a mother that ran her own business. I mean, I had a model growing up to see and to view and to learn about. And I've owned other businesses before I've owned this gallery.
Has it always been art?
No.
What's been your most odd business that you've had?
I owned an audio video company for a little while, so I was doing home theater and car sound, car systems.
Oh, sick. Okay.
So
Nice.
yeah, that was another life,
Yeah.
But yeah, like we all have agreed. I mean, making art and making a living off of art is I don't. There might be one person in town that I know that's doing that, but I don't.
Well, and I was about
to
I've thrown 10,000 pizzas, so yeah, I can make a good pizza. No, but I was going to say, this is, the recollection that I get from this conversation is remembering talking to Jim Johnson.
Yeah.
Jim was a friend. He's one of the older artists in town. He's in this
The pickle?
Is he here?
Yeah.
The pickle.
Oh,
Yeah, the homie.
There's right there.
yeah.
We know what I'm talking
That was in
about. Yeah,
Melissa's
of course.
house.
But
Melissa Grimes, right?
Jim's been doing his I make art and that is my gig for 35 years or something. And he's outrageous. He's probably one of the best painters in a 600-mile radius. Like, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, like, and he was of paramount importance to me, just as like we'd see him at like some art show, like then we'd go hang out, and then we became friends, and that was really a great thing for me to be able to hang out with an artist of another generation who not only was making enough to make it, but was like killing it, just making great work and just and that's what he does. He wakes up, he has his morning routine, he starts painting. I mean, this guy paints all the time, or makes something like all the time, and that was just having that as a role model, I think, is important. Find an artist that you respect their work, give them a call, hang out with them on the trail. It's going to be invaluable information.
Yeah, we've had the pleasure to meet him and Sophia, right? Billy
Oh,
Rose.
yeah.
Yeah. So she actually was the one that like came to me with the idea, like, hey, we should throw a fashion show. I don't know who to involve, so you can go ahead and like rally the troops. And I was like, shit.
Cool.
No, literally, I had to just flip that flip phone out and beep beep bop boop bop. And
Right,
everybody
get
was
that
on,
black book.
on freaking speed dial. And
Yeah.
like, I think what she saw in us in that group was how hungry we were. So like coming from a different generation, like you kind of need that energy. It's like what you were saying. It's like a whole energy transfer. It's like synergy almost in a sense. Like if you get around people that are, we have this rule. It's like you hang out with 33% of people that are like, they make more money than you, smarter than you, like just do everything that you kind of want to do. And then people, and then people in a sense that are on the same spectrum level as you. And then also people that like, you can learn from, but it's almost like a different,
Like you're there to help them.
Exactly. So I feel like with you guys, with all the things that is going on in y'all's life, I feel like we relate in a sense to where it's almost like kind of like a mirror, and it's fucking insane.
When you have to have competition too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really important. I mean, it's not like Chad and I would ever compete like with each other on like who sold the most work or anything like that. That's never been a thing. But like every time that like he's working on a piece or I'm working on a piece, like you get stuck in it sometimes.
Yeah. Or you see somebody working and you're like, what am I doing right now?
Right.
That's how I feel living with this guy.
Zelda, the Legend of the Ocarina is really cool and all, but like, wouldn't it be neat if I had this thing? But there's been times where we shared studios for years together, and there were times that I would literally I'd be in there just like bashing my head against the wall on this problem, and then Chad will roll in and just be like, hey, why didn't you blah blah blah, and I was just like, shit, right, like why didn't I do that? Because I needed that fresh perspective. And so like it's like you said, you have people, you surround yourself with people that are not only going to be positive about what they do, but positive about what you're doing, and then have some that are teaching you, and then have some that you are working with, and then have some that you help. I think that's a great way to think of it.
That's pretty fantastic.
Sure. Yeah, it's just also hard, I feel like, in this day and age to find good people to like be inspired by, or kind of like try to, I wouldn't say
like a genuine chemistry. But it's just like there's just a lot of shadow hate. Like sometimes you end up like hanging out with the wrong people, and then like you thought they were gonna be like your buddies, and then all of a sudden they stab you in the back, and you got a deal turned south, and it's like in the end, it's of course it's important to be able to collaborate with individuals, but I think the most important part is being a strong individual like yourself, because that way, if your friends, if you don't have any friends right now, they're all kind of turning south. It's like, well, I know I'm going to do this when I'm like, regardless if they're there or not, it's being about it without any outside influence affecting your
it's a hunger, like we talked about it as being hungry, it's without having that sort of passion underneath what you're doing, what's the point? Yeah.
Is it now you're just trying to find more people with the same passion, and it's like
Exactly.
we know we're both going to
There's
do
a
it.
radar that'll occur too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Over time, it's like okay, like this is a good person that I need to like kind of couple up with on these ideas, and I think that there's some obvious like red flags that you can avoid. Like it's like what Chad was saying, what CASP does. Like when people are around you and they're saying yes to things, this is almost always a good deal, but that doesn't mean they're going to follow through. So you'll know pretty quickly
Who's about their business.
who's talking about shit and who's doing shit, and then you go with the people that are doing things.
To be honest, it was crazy because I was like, after they threw the second one, I was walking in that fashion show and I was like, shit, we need to throw another one and we need to make it bigger. We need to freaking just add the live music, add the live art, like do all the things that we were kind of restricted in that space. And people like us, all we need is a fucking space. All we need is that opportunity.
The platform,
because,
and the way that that has come about for me, of finding those platforms, is just by going out and doing something.
Yeah, literally.
And you have to like start somewhere. You really just have to get yourself out there. I mean, say yes to everything.
Say yes to everything. That movie, Yes Man.
Yes.
Yeah. Talking about all the opportunities that happen. When you say
and
yes.
then fucking do it.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, it's really important.
Right.
Do it. Like I have like a couple of misgivings like in my life where I've said, yeah, I can do that for you, and I haven't followed through. Like there's not very many, but they still hurt me at night.
Of course.
Like I'm still just like, goddamn, should I just make that and just like hand it to them now for free? Because like it took me longer than I said it was going to take, or whatever. Like there's not very many, but they're out there, and it's real regret. Like there's real guilt there that I feel because I should have followed through.
Yeah, because you never know. You never freaking know what's going to come out of it.
You man of your word, kind of like the handshake is like a real deal kind of thing. Like.
Yeah, because I've learned a man only got two things in this world, and it's his word and his dick. So, so
one of those could be questionable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Not in this day and age. Yeah. God damn it.
My pronouns are anymore. Shit. I would say that the trail, and as far as like from seeing it from the beginning to what it is now, one of the coolest things about it is that we're developing patronage with young people that like hopefully when they are in their home, or they're 16, 17 now, eating a corn dog, getting a face painting or something, but they're around all this art, they're seeing all this art, and when they are in their mid-20s and they're ready to buy something for their place, and they're like, I saw something this weekend that really kind of blew me away. It was a little bit expensive. I'm going to talk to that gallery about like, hey, is there like a payment plan, or how do I get this piece of work into my home, as opposed to going to Hobby Lobby or the American Council of the Blind and just like picking some old painting off the wall, but actually getting something that speaks to you. That's what I hope is happening, is that we're developing some future patronage, and I think it is. Like,
Most definitely.
I mean, I used to tell people all the time, buy this piece from me and hang it in your bathroom. It's the best place to put a piece of art. And everybody's just like, what the hell are you talking about? Well, when you're taking a leak and you look up, you're just like, what the hell is this thing about?
Yeah.
And then you come out of the bathroom, immediately you're talking about something that's original, as opposed to like, you look up and you see, something that was, once again, just like a movie poster. You're not going to come back and be like, no, that Terminator movie poster, that was fucking cool. You're going to be
that
like,
restaurant with the cool picture above the urinal. You're like, dude, that was so funny. Like, that was.
I mean, for real.
Yeah.
Like, and I think what I'm hoping is that like here in 10 years, like these kids, like these young adults who are going to be like adults, and they're going to be having places and having their own kids. It might just be like, hey, like there's a reason why I want something in my house that's a real object.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I will say y'all inspire a lot of people to do what they do. I mean, myself, and I know this guy. Just know that, I mean, obviously y'all know it already, but the work will never go unnoticed. Like, as...
You already made so many different impacts on different people's lives. Like, that alone is, it's kind of unbeatable. It's not even comparable. It's really, really cool.
Currency within itself.
Yeah.
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah,
omni-fiveable.
This, something that drew me here as well. I mean, as an artist, there's not really any other place kind of like this going on, and I spotted that opportunity immediately. I mean, it was that's something as an artist I was dreaming about before even, during, and I'd say that was 10 years ago that I was dreaming of these things. And where is this community, this magical land for artists that there's a community that supports, what we try to do as individuals. And there's nothing else, I don't think, quite like this happening on the scale that this is going on, and it's only getting bigger. And so, that was the draw for me. I mean, it was almost a no-brainer. I saw all this and was just like, fell in love immediately. I mean, this is what every city dreams about for artists, and in some experience that in different ways, like the Bishop's Arts District in Dallas.
Expansion to see, I mean, obviously coming in the later future. I know you said more studios, things of that such. There's this one building, it's that one right there.
The warehouse.
The warehouse.
Dude, that building right there is beautiful.
So Luca is, they're under renovation right now. So I can talk about when they close. I have my graduate degree, so we have to put on an art show for your show. That was my place. Like I'd had that picked out for, I'd had it reserved for like over a year, and Luis passed away just about like 2 months before my show was supposed to happen. And they held the funeral in the warehouse, and for some reason or another, the occupancy number came up, and the fire chief was there, and and so occupancy shut down the place like a month or so before my thesis exhibit, and so I had to move and I had to relocate, and it wasn't happening on a first Friday, and I was it just didn't happen the way I wanted, so nobody ever saw my thesis show.
Man, that's fucking crazy.
We gotta get that warehouse up and running so you can.
But that's
tell
all
your
right,
thesis.
The committee that needed to see it to give me the grade saw it. I had a little party at the same time, and my friends saw it. So that was okay, I guess. But now they're renovating and trying to get that space back up. So I mean, things are happening. It's just happening very slowly. I mean, the last time that y'all broke ground on a project was probably 4 or 5 years ago.
2018.
So, it takes time, and, even with artwork, it takes time. It takes time to make these sales happen. It takes time to develop these properties. It takes time as an individual to understand how to get your art out. I mean, all of this stuff takes time, Don't be too hard on yourselves. Keep putting another foot in front of the other, be hungry. Keep biting it off until you can afford to not.
Until you're full.
You got four pockets full. You got your
and if that day ever comes, let me know how you got there. Because I'd love to know. So I mean.
Anything, Chad? Anything you'd like to?
I feel like Chad should have something to say here to wrap us up.
Anything to say to the people?
One of the things I tell our artists is, and it's my old professor, what we would do when we would talk is, what's your input, what's your output, and how has it changed from last week? And so you might have some weeks that are input weeks, which is research, which is, it's okay to scroll on your phone, but put some galleries in there. Go to their website, look at the gallery, see what people are doing, or read a book. Don't just look at garbage, but or maybe you're really into film. Okay, well, what movie are you watching today? What's your input? And then how are you responding to that input? So what is your output? Are you making, are you sketching? Are you getting ready for a show? Are you needing to apply for shows? And if you do 30 minutes of input every day and 30 minutes of output every day, it's 1 hour of your day. And when you get to the end of the week, you'll go, man, I worked 7 hours on something. And then the next week comes around and you go, okay, well, what's my input? What's my output? And how is it changing? And I still do it to this day where I go, sometimes I'll put my phone down, I'll put my record on, and I'll whittle wood. I'm a little carver. And I go, yeah, like, I'm doing this because I still want to keep discovering. Right now, like John said, I am getting ready for a show at Luca, and I'm actually limiting my input of wood carvers because I don't want to see what's been done better than I can do it. Like, I want it to be me. So I'm in an output phase right now. But
Do we have any shows lined up?
keep making. What, sir?
Do we have any shows lined up for the year?
Who, me?
Like, yeah, all of us. Yeah.
I'm at Luca in 2025, but for 2024, I'm accumulating right now so that then I have fresh stuff that people are like, oh.
I've got two big commissions, one at the Law Library at Tech and then another at big corporate place in Dallas that wants some work. So,
Cool.
Yeah, so I'm just pushing work out right now.
Good.
And then I'm bringing in some of the sculptures, like I'm going to Springfield on Sunday.
Yeah, they're coming back home?
What's that?
The sculptures are coming back home?
Yeah. I'm bringing one in Sunday. I'll be back on Monday. It's a cannonball run. It's like 10 hours one day, 10 hours the next.
You don't want to go with John?
Yeah, I'm down.
I've actually been trying to get somebody to go with me.
Hey, I'll be down, dude.
Yeah.
No, for real. No, yeah.
Shit, like, I have to listen to like an audiobook or some shit.
Fuck it, dude.
We
We'll
watch
listen
your
to the podcast. Yeah, we can listen to the podcast.
I've got a few sculptures around the country that I just kind of like tote around to different places. And I'm kind of in an input stage where I'm bringing them back home. Sometimes they need to be touched up or whatnot. CASP is awesome in that we've poured concrete pads like for sculpture that's here. And CASP is awesome in allowing me to we'll borrow the forklift from Two Docks and put that bad boy up. And then I have a little bit of a breathing moment to apply for the next place that it's going to go. So I've got some of that happening too.
What about you, Zach?
Yeah, this featured artist that I've got in here now, Paul Oglesby. So one of those things that I said yes to 10 years ago was, participating in a show with Tech down in Marfa. And then consequently, ran into this organization called Marfa Open Arts and, fell in love with them. They've got some property in Marfa and they do a little residency type deal. Hooked up with them, and Paul was one of the guys there that I'd met, and we've got a little show in Marfa this fall. So
during
during Shinati and all that. So
Is that the one with the Marfa lights?
they're out there. Yeah.
I've never been there.
You should check out the Shinati open house in Marfa in October.
October what?
Well, it's always
It's the second weekend of October.
Oh, okay.
This year it's the second weekend of October.
Oh shit.
I know.
birthday's-
So I can actually go.
Well, yeah. See, it's almost always when we have.
It's always the first Friday, and I'm
Damn.
always opening, so I haven't been able to go for like the last 2-3 years.
That'd be cool.
Anyway,
Yeah, man. I'm gonna have to look into that with you.
How long has that been going on?
yeah, we might actually need some more people also.
I first went down there in
I got some work.
2000.
Got some coming back.
It's been going on before that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd have to Google that.
I sold my first piece of art in Marfa, Texas, to a collector out of LA when Texas Tech did a show at that furniture spot, and that would have been like that would have been like 2000. Yeah, 3 or something. That was like the first piece. It was $500, and then I shipped off a piece to probably paid as much to ship it as he did. But I mean,
No profit.
It was really, really cool. And that I met this dude from Los Angeles, and he was a collector, and he liked my piece, and he was like, he bought it right there on the spot, wrote me a check.
That is so
and I was just like, fuck yeah. It's a neat place. And Shinati Open Weekend, I haven't been in a few years because of the same thing that we just talked about.
Last time I was there, I had to run to the Allsups to get first aid gear because John fell off his bike.
No, I didn't. No, it was not my bike. I fell off the step. It was late, all right, and I was gonna go piss, and I couldn't see. And there's this
Broke his glass.
there was like a 1.5 foot parapet, baby. And then I hit it in the rock in the face. I don't know what to tell you.
I'll go to all subs.
That's all good. Here you go.
You
Gabe.
should get that.
Yeah, no worries. No worries at
Somebody
all.
calling to buy some art, bro.
Right.
CASP or
Adam.
not, just open on first Friday.
Yeah.
They're open 6 days a week.
So come by, see some shit you didn't get to see, first Friday, and don't be weird, or be weird.
No,
you
yeah,
know?
that's exactly what we're trying to push.
Yeah.
We want people to be weird.
Exactly. So come see some good art. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, looks like Zach's. No, it definitely is. Yeah.
Hey, he took a call.
Yeah.
That's the interlude.
Yeah. Well, you guys make sure to tune in. Check these guys out. We're going to have their Instagrams, all their socials down below. And see you guys on the next one.